Let me tell you the story of Samson, a man whose strength was unlike anything the world had ever seen. You can find his story in the Book of Judges, but it reads more like an epic tale than a simple record of history. Long ago, when the Israelites were suffering under the rule of the Philistines, there lived a man named Manoah and his wife. They had no children, and in those days that was a heavy sorrow. But one day, an angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife and told her something incredible. She would have a son. This child, the angel said, must be set apart for God from birth. He was to be a Nazirite, no wine, no strong drink, and most importantly, no razor was ever to touch his head. That uncut hair would be a sign that he belonged to God. And through him, Israel would begin to be delivered from the Philistines. In time, the promised child was born. They named him Samson. As he grew, it became clear there was something different about him. The Spirit of the Lord stirred within him, and with it came tremendous strength. One day, while traveling alone, a young lion suddenly leaped out at him. Now most men would have run, but Samson didn't. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and with his bare hands, he tore the lion apart as if it were a young goat. That was only the beginning. Later, angered by the Philistines, Samson struck down 30 men in Ashkelon. On another occasion, he caught 300 foxes, tied them together in pairs with torches between their tails, and released them into the Philistines' fields, burning their grain and vineyards. The Philistines tried to capture him. They bound him with new ropes, but the ropes snapped like burnt thread when the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. Once, armed with nothing but the jawbone of a donkey, he struck down 1,000 men. And in Gaza, when enemies surrounded him, he simply tore the city gates from their posts and all, and carried them up a hill as if they weighed nothing. For 20 years, Samson judged Israel. But now comes the part of the story that changes everything. Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah in the valley of Sorek. The Philistine rulers went to her in secret and offered her silver to discover the source of his strength. Delilah began asking him, gently at first, then persistently. "Tell me," she would say, "what makes you so strong?" 3 times he misled her. He told her fresh bowstrings would weaken him. They didn't. He said new ropes would do it. They didn't. He even said weaving his hair into a loom would make him weak. It didn't. But Delilah kept pressing him day after day until his soul was vexed to death. At last, he told her the truth. "No razor has ever touched my head," he said, "for I have been a Nazirite to God from my mother's womb. If my head is shaved, my strength will leave me." So one night, as he slept with his head in her lap, she called for a man to shave off his 7 locks of hair. And just like that, his strength was gone. The Philistines seized him. They gouged out his eyes. They bound him in bronze chains and set him to grinding grain in prison. But here is something important. His hair began to grow again. Sometime later, the Philistines gathered in the temple of their god Dagon to celebrate. They praised their god for delivering Samson into their hands. They brought him out to entertain them, blind and humbled. The temple was packed with rulers and thousands of people. Samson asked to be placed between the 2 pillars that held up the building. Standing there, he prayed, "O Lord God, remember me. Strengthen me just this once." Then he pushed with all his might. "Let me die with the Philistines." The pillars gave way. The temple collapsed. In that final moment, Samson brought the entire structure down upon himself and his enemies. And in his death, he killed more Philistines than he had in his life. That is the story of Samson, a man of incredible strength, given by God, yet undone by his own weakness. It's a story of power, failure, and one final act of redemption.